After suffering the war, poverty, famine, disease, and other hardships of the 20th and 21st centuries, the invention of warp technology by Dr. Zephram Cochrane meant Earth could start exploring the stars with faster-than-light travel. Detecting the use of a warp drive, the wise and powerful Vulcan species made first contact, introducing them to new technologies, while also serving as a voice of patience and prudence to ensure humanity did not endanger themselves by advancing too rapidly. Learning they were not alone in the universe, first contact led the people of Earth into a scientific, political, and cultural revolution, with hunger, poverty, homelessness, and inequality eliminated in less than a century. In 2103, Earth colonized Mars, and by 2150, the nations of the world unified into a single government. As this transition took place, a new world economy formed, eliminating currency in favor of an egalitarian system where everyone's basic needs were met by the government, allowing them to focus exclusively on their passions and desires. With the need for material wealth gone, the species became less greedy and more open to new ideas, ushering in a new age of peace and cooperation. Yet before the nations of the world completed their unification, many worked together to form Starfleet Command, which sought to build starships and explore space so they might boldly go where no man has gone before. With the population thriving and Starfleet continuing to improve warp technology, the United Earth government approved launching the Enterprise NX-01 in 2151, built with a Warp 5 engine, allowing them to travel 50 light-years in approximately 3 months. Yet despite these great achievements, humans remained among the least advanced warp-capable species in their region of the galaxy, as the Vulcans did not believe it wise to give them anything more advanced. Therefore, when Earth was invaded by the Romulan Star Empire, a nearby superpower, in 2156, their defeat seemed inevitable. However, in less than a decade of exploration, primarily led by Captain Jonathan Archer of the Enterprise NX-01, humanity made a number of critical friendships, and so were joined by the Vulcan, Andorian, and Tellarite species, who rallied to their defense. Through their combined efforts, the Alliance won the critical Battle of Charon, proving the benefits of cooperation and leading to the formation of the United Federation of Planets in 2161 to be governed by an elected president and council comprised of representatives from member worlds. Though most of the great powers in the Alpha and Beta quadrants were led by a single species who destroyed or subjugated their neighbors, member worlds of the Federation joined voluntarily and remained semi-autonomous, while also electing representatives to speak in the central government. Encouraging multiculturalism, all were nonetheless required to operate within the confines of the Federation Charter and Constitution, based on the enlightened principles of equality, liberty, and peaceful coexistence. Now under the authority of the Federation, Starfleet oversaw all military and scientific research, making great strides in the coming years as they gained access to the technology of member worlds. Starfleet was so successful that by the 24th century, they allowed the Federation to become a great superpower, considered one of the largest and most advanced civilizations in the Alpha and Beta quadrants. Due to their origins and headquarters on Earth, humans were the most common species found serving in Starfleet, yet over time, crews grew increasingly diverse as entry into the organization was open to all species of member worlds, and even those from non-member worlds, so long as they were recommended by a command-level officer. In time, Starfleet even allowed artificial intelligence to serve, like the android Data and holographic Doctor, though these advances took a great step backwards by the end of the 24th century, when a rogue synth attack on Mars led them to ban the creation of androids. Operating under the authority of the Starfleet Charter, the organization was run with military discipline and strict adherence to their various codes, laws, and procedures, like Starfleet General Orders and Regulations, which applied to all personnel. Among the many rules they established, the most well-known and controversial was General Order No. 1, also called the Prime Directive, which stated no starship may interfere with the normal development of any alien life or society. Although this could apply to many different situations, and often proved a wise policy, one of the most significant effects was that they could no longer contact pre-warp civilizations, and therefore could not offer aid or technology, even if they were suffering and on the brink of extinction. Outside of their general orders, there were many more rules to follow, including those which prohibited the death of intelligent life forms, interference in the politics and conflicts of other species, dealing with outlaws, and encroaching on the territory of a sovereign power. Working within these many rules and regulations were a number of minor organizations providing much-needed expertise and specialization to various fields of research, training, and construction. Of all the various agencies that fell under their authority, Starfleet Intelligence was one of the most vital, as they were responsible for gathering information about neighboring powers, including their military strength. However, with so many rules in place limiting the capability of their intelligence service, they were nowhere near as feared or respected as the Tal Shiar or Obsidian Order, espionage agencies which used torture, kidnapping, and any other means necessary to accomplish their mission. Yet what remained unknown to most of the galaxy was that Starfleet had a secret intelligence operation working in the shadows and answering only to themselves, able to act outside the law whenever they deemed necessary. Section 31, as they were known, existed since the founding of Starfleet, getting their name and mandate from Article 14, Section 31 of the original Starfleet Charter, allowing for extreme measures in times of crisis. Despite interpreting this passage to mean they could do whatever was necessary to accomplish their objectives, Section 31 believed deeply in the principles of the Federation and did not violate their laws out of malice, greed, or even self-preservation, taking no action against those who threatened to expose or work against them, so long as they did not interfere with an active mission. While Section 31 operated without oversight, the rest of Starfleet was led by the Commander-in-Chief, who in turn answered primarily to the President of the Federation, though they could also be given orders from the Council. However, within Starfleet, the Commander-in-Chief stood at the top of their hierarchy, responsible for everything within the organization. Aiding him in this great administrative duty was Starfleet Command, where their highest-ranking officers oversaw all departments. Beneath Starfleet Command were the Sector Commanders, responsible for a specific region of Federation space, with all Starfleet personnel in these areas answering to the Sector Commander. When it came to their individual hierarchy, the organization was made up of officers who studied for a minimum of 4 years at Starfleet Academy, and enlisted men who received basic training and whatever specialized lessons were necessary, often sent to the Starfleet Technical Services Academy. Further dividing the officers into flag and field, the highest individual rank was Fleet Admiral, followed by Admiral, Vice Admiral, Rear Admiral, and Commodore. Those who attained the rank of Flag Officer could traditionally expect to work in Starfleet Command as a Sector Commander or as a Superintendent to one of the numerous Starfleet academies throughout their space, including the main facility on Earth. Moving to the lower-ranking officers who worked in the field, there was the captain at the top, usually in command of a starship or space station, followed by Commander, Lieutenant Commander, Lieutenant, Lieutenant Junior Grade, and Ensign. All new officers who graduated from Starfleet Academy were granted the rank of Ensign, with the exception of medical personnel who started at Lieutenant Junior Grade. As for the enlisted men, also called non-commissioned officers, their highest-ranking position was Master Chief Petty Officer, followed by Senior Chief Petty Officer, Chief Petty Officer, Petty Officer First Class, Second Class, Third Class, and Crewman. Field officers and NCOs sometimes worked in shipyards where new vessels were constructed and space stations built throughout the Federation and beyond, providing a safe oasis for shore leave or to repair and resupply ships. But for many, the ultimate dream was to serve aboard a starship and travel throughout the Alpha and Beta quadrants. Designed for exploration, research, and defense, Starfleet's warp-capable ships evolved over the years to keep up with advancing technology, and by the 24th century had civilians of all ages living aboard some of the larger models in order to avoid the separation of families. Though the NX-class starship was made famous by Captain Archer's Enterprise, the first Federation-era starship to gain long-lasting renown was the Constitution class of the 23rd century, due almost entirely to the celebrated 5-year mission of Captain James T. Kirk aboard the USS Enterprise, which expanded their space significantly. The Constitution class was followed by the Excelsior, and then the Galaxy in the 24th century. Continuing the proud lineage of their namesake, the Galaxy-class USS Enterprise D gained great notoriety under Captain Jean-Luc Picard, a highly respected diplomat and commander. When the Enterprise D was destroyed, the Enterprise E was upgraded to a Sovereign-class ship, while elsewhere they built the Intrepid class, a sleeker, more efficient vessel for long-term exploration. Although they had high hopes for the Intrepid, no one could have foreseen the durability and versatility it famously displayed through the USS Voyager, a starship under Captain Catherine Janeway which survived being stranded in the Delta Quadrant for 7 years, entirely cut off from all Federation services. Among the many other types of ships, there was the Akira class for short-range tactical missions, the Defiant class as a heavily armored battleship, the Olympic class serving for medical purposes, the Prometheus class for deep space tactical operations, and the Nova class for short-term research. As the centuries went on and technology continued to advance, Starfleet became responsible for protecting the timeline, and so developed time ships like the Aeon type, a one-person vessel with defensive capabilities, and traditional warp as well as hyper-impulse drives, and the Wells class, a larger ship for long-term missions, complete with a holomatrix, acting as a more sophisticated holodeck. A special thanks to all those who contribute to Civilization X, like Knight of the X, Elendil of Numenor, Keeper of the Sacred Scroll, Ishmam Ahmed of Shamiriana, the Spectral Knight, and the Emperor of Mankind. If you'd like to help the channel, go to patreon.com/civilizationx, where you can sign up and gain early access to videos, vote on future content, and access the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.